Hey, thanks for joining me. About a year ago, I reviewed the first issue of the Warblade endangered species miniseries, and I didn't have, at least anywhere on me that I could find, the rest of the series. I actually doubt that I had them because I've never ran into them subsequently as I dig through my comic boxes. But I found someone online that had the other three for very cheap, so I'm like, you know what? As usual, I got a YouTube channel. I need content, so let's get the rest of them on here. I know we've already looked at one. We'll look at the entire thing. Just to sum it up, it's not good. It's really not. It's kind of like the perfect example of the epitome of the not horrible but not great type of stuff you get from Image Comics in this era. It's not the worst thing I've ever read, and if you're a kid, there's things in it you might probably find interesting or exciting. But as you get older and you come back to look at them, you're like, there's nothing there that I'm interested in. This does not stay with you as far as I'm concerned. And again, I always run into people like, I loved that. I enjoyed it a lot. It was really, I have great memories of this series. To which I say, great, I'm good. I'm not taking that from you. Just because I'm saying I don't like it then and now doesn't mean you can't like it then and now. I'm just trying to give it my opinion, my perspective on it. But it's just, there's nothing really interesting there. It doesn't stay with you. And I thought that I would like the art more than I do, and I really do not. Scott Clark. First off, gotta pay respect to the guy. He died, I don't know why, of what, back in 2013 it was, if I looked it up and just saw the correct date. So it's been a minute. But I remember when he started Wildstorm doing Stormwatch, I was really into him. He did these heavy shadows and muscular renderings, and he had something. But his work seems to me like you can really tell, it seems to me, when he is really into it or really trying versus something that looks like it's a sped up, hurried, rushed through kind of job. And there's a lot of things in here that have elements of that. It's not the worst version of him doing that I've seen, but it's not his best work. I also say that I've pointed this out in several other things, a couple of the other things I've reviewed on him. Again, I've done the first issue of this. I've done the Spawn Wildcats crossover, where you can tell that Scott Clark was trying really, really hard, which who wouldn't? One, you're drawing Wildcats for Image Comics and Jim Lee, so that's a big deal. Two, you get to have Spawn in it. Holy shit, you got to represent Todd McFarlane's character. And three, Alan Moore wrote it. Like, is this a dream gig or what? It's a shame the comic sucked. But you could tell he was really trying. But when Scott Clark doesn't, it seems, I'm just conjecture, just guessing, this is all guesswork on my part. When he doesn't care, or he's not as invested, or maybe he's on a timeline crunch, doesn't have a lot of time to spend doing all this heavy shadow rendering, when he just keeps his figures kind of open and doesn't do the shadows and the cross-hatching, his stuff falls apart horribly, in my opinion. Like, for example, this exaggerated face, this, like, extremely pointy chin, the nose, the eyes that are like angled at this weird, it's so strange looking. But as a kid, when you're reading these, big screamy face, shiny metal, pointy claws, you're kind of like, oh, that's cool. But it's just, like I said, I thought that he was pretty good back when he first started, and as he progressed, I don't know that he necessarily got better. His weird eccentricities in his art got more pronounced. But then, as he kind of got later in life, closer to around the time when he passed away, he was doing some pretty neat stuff. And I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody say anything negative about him. Seems like a Nice guy. When I looked up that he died in 2013, I saw a bunch of kind of comments from a bunch of working professionals who talked about him, and everyone had great things to say about him. So, you know, it sucks that he died. He was only 44. I mean, that shit's kind of weird to me. I'm 47. It's like, God damn, what takes a guy's life? But anyway, triple gatefold cover on the issue 1. Again, I've already reviewed this on the channel, but it's been a year. We'll just do kind of a quick flip through. Again, I am not interested in the story in these things. It tries to be so serious, and you're just not into it at all. At least I wasn't. Double check on the credits. Pencils, Scott Clark. Ink, Sal Regla. Seems like a pretty good inker to me. So, again, I feel like there's moments where you can tell that Scott Clark is really trying and putting in his best work. And this stuff is all pretty good. This shot of this guy looks really strange with this giant gun and the way he's holding this thing. And it's just odd. You know, he's trying to do a big sci-fi gun shooting down an eagle. That sucks. I remember talking about this page, how it looks like Scott Clark clearly was referencing photos to get that great shot. It's pretty dang good. And then I was also talking about, like, it says Warblade endangered species, but Ripclaw is the character up front, and he's a major character in the book from Cyberforce. So you think it'd be Warblade Ripclaw endangered species. So what do I know? I don't know shit. But, you know, you're going to take Wildcats and Cyberforce and get the metal-bladed characters together. So, of course, you're going to. So Ripclaw runs into is this a leopard in, like, the South American desert? Is that where leopards live? It says it's a jaguar. I mean, okay. This is all kind of fine stuff. That's kind of a cool shot. That's kind of a cool shot with the shading and everything. It's kind of a cool shot. The coloring's pretty good, I guess. These ridiculous outfits sometimes. I mean, I get it. I was a kid in the 90s designing characters based on the aesthetics of the era and what I'd see in comics, and I've designed shit like this all over the place myself, and man, is it just awful in retrospect sometimes. That's kind of cool. That's kind of a good shot of Warblade up there. Heavy shadow rendering there. That's a good shot right there. Again, you can kind of tell where he was really putting in the effort. I remember in the first issue that I reviewed, I was talking about how that is the worst drawn TP in the history of ever. He just drew like a cozy cone. He didn't draw like the structure of the thing. It's the wrong size. It looks awful. But, oh, there's a big shot of Warblade. That's the fun stuff, right? Even though, as I've said, Warblade's got the worst outfit design. It doesn't make any sense in comparison to what his powers actually are. What are these pipes across his shoulders? Why are these big, long tendril pipe things connected from his back to his arms? Why are they there? What do? They don't do anything. They're just there to be a designy element. And the more I look at it, the more I fucking hate it. Who cares what I think? And the pages get a little bit looser and lighter. Not quite as exciting. Oh, big screamy guy. These face shots, especially that one, that's pretty good stuff. So, end of issue 1's right here. Oh, now Warblade and Ripclaw are going to meet up. So, that's what we're all here for, right? Well, let's dig into issue 2. That's kind of an alright cover. You kind of get a good shot on both of them. I've discovered this as I kind of keep drawing throughout my life and like trying to come up with a cover where you want to show both characters, but they're fighting each other. So if they're fighting, they're usually facing each other. But then that means one character's got his back to you. So you have to position them somehow to make them both look interesting and dynamic and identifiable, but make sense in the context of what they're doing. It's tricky, and that's not bad. I've always said this too, like, because Warblade's entire body, as I understand, is supposed to be like a flexible liquid metal. Like he's like a T-1000. But when they try to show that power, he just looks like he's made of rubber, like he's a Reed Richards and he stretches. And it doesn't work. I never liked it. So, again, don't give a shit about the story. So we're just looking about the art. Again, look at these eye things that he's doing. I know it's a stylistic choice, but there's these little tiny slanted little slit things, and then they're cranked up at a severe angle, and there's no irises. These guys, the human does, so I guess Warblade and Ripclaw, you could say that they don't. I understand it more on Warblade if he's like a liquid metal thing, but Ripclaw's just a Native American. He's just a dude. So, all right, now we got a giant double page spread. Slash fight. That's all. It's the size of it is impressive. I think Ripclaw, the hair element here, which is his, I guess. I mean, again, it's kind of like both respecting the crazy dynamic, like over the top 90s excess silly shit. Like everyone's got ponytails, so they're hyper long. But Ripclaw's is coming from here up to here, over here, in through here, twirling up here. But it kind of disrupts your ability to see the back muscle anatomy on Ripclaw here. And as I look at this, as someone who draws muscular figures and draws his own comic books and trying to twist big muscular bodies around, especially back muscles, are very tricky. It gets lost. It looks so weird. And I think he's overcomplicating it. It needs to be simplified, and we don't need all this double lighting because there's a muscle mass here, but then he throws a heavy shadow in the middle of it and throws some cross-hatching on it. So this one single mass then suddenly starts being defined as two. You should be able to see like the back of his neck or his neck then connecting to his spine as he twists. You should see more of his back. It just gets lost. I appreciate and I respect what he was doing, what he was trying to do. But I think he lost. I think he lost control of it. And it looks really, really strange on Ripclaw. Warblade looks fine. I also don't care for this swooping, swooshing, weird line things in the background. I think I understand what he's trying to go for. Again, I just don't think it works. So A for effort and like C- on execution in my humble, who cares about my opinion. That's kind of an interesting shot on Warblade. It's, big twisty arms and flexing. Got to get ready to fight. Pointy claws. The colorist was going to town on the background. So that's kind of fun. I do not care for suddenly, for no reason, you just have to flip the comic on its side to look at this page. I gotta sneeze. Hold on. Oh, shit, Lord, excuse me. This is weird because, like, Warblade slashes at Ripclaw, but he just stands there like he's not reacting. So I don't know what's going on. The perspective is all out of whack here with the plane, the ground. These guys are standing on in this truck, sitting way too low. And it's hard. This is hard to do. I'm not an expert at it, but you can tell when it's wrong. This is like a tiny little remote-controlled truck. I mean, that sucks. So, that's all right. I didn't like having to turn the page the side. More fighting. Warblade turns his hand into a big steel mallet. Like, if you're trying to kill the fucker, why don't you keep your hand blades? Stab. Maybe he's not trying to kill him. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't care. But then some of the artwork just feels like it's not quite as intricately involved as it has been with him before. Let me check who is on the credits. Regla, Rubenstein, and Sandra Hope. All great inkers. Ripclaw gets sent out of a building or into a building. Who knows? All we know, there's a window in a portal void to nowhere. Bad guys everywhere. Again, it just starts to feel like when you think of generic, soulless Image Comics stuff that's trying to be so edgy cool, but doesn't really have anything to say, this is almost like the most perfect version of that. It's just so mindlessly silly. A lot more fighting. And again, I feel like I've seen Scott Clark do better. These are all kind of fine. The giant lizard monster thing. Just Warblade and Ripclaw. Now I guess they're fighting together against some lizard monsters. I guess he didn't want to draw dirt of any type on this ground. I mean, you're out in the desert and we're doing a down shot on dirt and rocks. Like, just put some textures. Pointless bad guy. All these Image Comics had the pointless bad guy. I guess this is supposed to be like a silhouette of a bird in the sky and they're looking up at it, but it looks like it's the shadow on the ground. Again, Scott Clark did not do any rendering on the ground, so he left it up to the colorist to color in dirt. So that doesn't work. And then this bird, I feel like it's the shadow of a giant fucking, like, it's like the eagles from Lord of the Rings, which would be pretty fucking badass. But I think it's supposed to be above, you know, that's the bird in the foreground, and it shouldn't be silhouetted. It should be in plain view and everything else below it be darkened in, if anything. But he's got it backwards. More whoever the fuck cares characters. Whatever's going on. I'm just, this was not interesting. Even the cat, like, it's kind of well drawn, but it's not amazing. Doing some weird panel layouts. You know, it's okay. Again, why not render some more of this? Again, maybe there's a time crunch, but he just draws these horizon line and then some mountains, and then that's it. The black and white on this is so going to be so vague and like open and vague. Render some grass, do some more, draw something. Don't leave it all to the colorist. It's just not that great. Ends with a big, angry, gritty faced shot of Ripclaw's mug. That's pretty good. That's interesting. Oftentimes the pinups in these things are hit or miss. This is interesting for me because if you follow me, you know my channel, you've been following me on my live streams, my own comics. Chuck Gibson right here. See this fella? Inker for Wildstorm back in the day. He's been doing some inking with me. We've been kind of collaborating and making some stuff. He helped me out on my fan comic, does amazing work. And here he is, some of his earliest work, inking over Pop. Is the M silent? Is it Pop Han? I don't know. So, again, the penciler trying to make something out of Warblade's weird design. It's, you know, it's kind of fine. I kind of like the bottom of it with the liquid metal and all the little bubble parts of it kind of beading up. So it's interesting, and inks look fine to me. You know, I'm just kind of looking at it. It's kind of fine, you know, as an image. Not bad at all. So, end of issue 2. All right, well, you know, not very exciting. How about book 3? That face. Oh, Lord. Well, here's stupid, faceless, nameless, dumb, who cares bad guy. Don't care, but he went to town, won this double lighting up in the face and the body. A lot of work went into it, so it's fine. And then there's Warblade somehow going inside. Interesting shot. He finally puts it like an iris inside his eye there. Now it stands out as weird because he's established that he doesn't have them. Oh, we got some babes. Hot babes right there. Standing around, probably Coda. It's just Damonite Witches. I assumed it was Coda because he got this knife. Who cares? Splash page of babes. Splash page of Warblade. Let's check out the credits. Inks. So Scott Clark pencils at Sal Regula with Chuck Gibson. So Chuck, who did the pinup, he did something in this book. So I did hit him up and asked him, hey dude, you're in the credits. What did you ink inside this thing? And he sent me a screenshot of the one that he did. So I'll point it out when we get to it. Warblade. Oh, in fact, it was this one. Right, Chuck? I'm pretty sure this is the page you sent me. Again, it looks as good as anything else that's been in here. You know, I guess there's only so much you can do with what the penciler gives you, and it looks as good as anything else. I like these textury kind of chunky shapes in the black around them. That looks fun. I wonder if that was done by brush. Probably. It looks good. That's really cool. So the babes attacking Warblade. Weird shot to kind of crop his face. And look at those weird, ridiculous, weird bug eye things. It's so weird that Scott Clark does that. That right there, that's interesting. See that shot of Warblade slashing up with his hands like that? I actually did an image very similar to that. Now I gotta grab it. Right here. And I didn't have an image in my mind like I'm trying to replicate any other artist's specific pose. In fact, I feel like it was something like the one that I did. I feel like I was kind of imitating a Rob Liefeld thing. But looking at that, Trying to flip open to it. Here we go. But this kind of angle with him just grunting and slashing up with his arms, I did that one right there just out of my own head, and I just wondered where I got my influence from, because again, I had this image in my mind that I've seen something similar. So anyway, just a random kind of like, I see that and I'm like, oh, I did something like that. Speaking, by the way, if you want to see Chuck Gibson's inks, this is him inking over me. And right there, that's his signature. Me, Rob Norton, nobody. And Gibson, he inked this and about almost 30 pages inside this book. It's a Masters of the Universe fan comic. If anybody's interested, I've got copies available. There's the first thing he ever inked for me, is that shot right there. And then I reprinted the back cover, but the black and white, doing homage to that old Liefeld X-Force cover. Again, Chuck Gibson's inks right there. It was just clicking. It was just working. I'm kind of proud of the work that we've done together. And then there's that back cover. Anyway, just that Chuck Gibson, inker for Wildstorm. And I'm lucky enough that we've kind of connected and been working together, and hopefully plan to do in the future. Anyway, back to this boring story. What the fuck? Screamy faces, running, girl's ass. All right. I guess she's diving at him, and he ducks out of the way, and she crashes into a door. The storytelling is just terrible. These early guys that were just doing their best. Does the girl get caught in the exhaust of the jet? Like he crawls into the jet, turns the engine on, and vaporizes her? That's fucked up. I kind of like it. There's Ripclaw. It looks like he's standing here getting ready to take a shit. Look at him. He's like, God, Jesus, Lord, save me. Anyway, there's kind of that same shot again. Don't care for that flame kind of design in the background. I like that heavy shadowed black shot as the guy shoots the flamethrower over him and he ducks under it. I guess Ripclaw cuts up, and this is the best that he could come up with, like his pant leg and his pointy shoe from getting slashed. Again, maybe he's on a time crunch. Maybe his heart wasn't in it. Maybe this is just a boring comic. He's interested in drawing all these muscular figures and angry faces. That's fine. Boring, 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 boring. This is just, I don't know, the guy's naked. He's a dickless Ken doll, I guess. Fucking, all right, there you go. Scott Clark was interested in this one. Anytime you got a night scene, you got trees, you could throw in a bunch of like leaves and branches and stuff, throw in a moon, hide them in shadows, and it looks pretty damn good. That's not bad at all. That's pretty badass. I'm on board with that one. Pinned up by Ryan Benjamin and Frank Percy. Never heard of that inker. That's a pretty good shot. That's pretty cool. Well, is the torture almost over? Warblade, issue 4. Is it a double-page cover? Hell yeah, it is. Got Warblade and Ripclaw and some headless lizard and this boring villain we don't care about. God. Well, another opening shot of Warblade leaping and grunting and looking violent and mean. Okay, well, splash page, double splash page. Okay, yeah, whatever. Let's check the credits on this one. Regla with Robert Campanella, John Lowe, Dan Panosian, Edwin Rossell, and Bob Wyacek. Jeez, Wyacek. Holy Lord. Maybe there was a time crunch, because when you have that many inkers, it seems to me like they got to be handing them off to get them done. And so maybe that explains why some of this stuff is not as good as it could be. That's a pretty good shot there. That's a pretty awesome splash page. But when you got the heroes that are bladed characters slashing monsters, you're just going to get a lot of posing and blood and guts, which is fine. That's an odd choice. I mean, it's kind of well drawn. Big muscular arm and everything. There goes Warblade, slashing, 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 jumping. God, for half a second on Warblade's chest there, I thought he had the Thundercat symbol. It almost looked like that cat symbol wearing. That'd be pretty cool. He's not a wildcat, he's a Thundercat. Bad guy's got a laser on his chest, giant lizard creature. Who cares about all these guys? It almost looks like they're trying to do like, I mean, it's sort of like, maybe it's like a shiny metal texture, almost like Wetworks, except not gold. I don't know if that's exactly what's going on, but it kind of looks like it. But the boredom is strong with this. There is nothing interesting going on. I say that and then I flip the page. That is a pretty dynamic angle. 100% credit to that. Lying on the ground, this upshot with his hand coming down, the single blade pinning him down. Even Ripclaw looks pretty badass there. That's not bad at all. That's, you know, you can tell when he's like inspired and just really going for it. I remember seeing this flipped over and not being interested in the story. I'm like, did Ripclaw take his clothes off? Is this his bare ass? But no, this is the bad guy. But he still looks naked, and that light pale skin of his and long dark hair. I'm like, is this Ripclaw? Did he get naked for Warblade? Are we about to see Liquid Metal Love? I will draw the shit out of that book. Boring. 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 The end. Pinup by Alan M. and Chuck Gibson. Again, our boy Chuck. I hit Chuck up. I'm like, who's this Alan M. guy? And he responded like, he's like, you know, unfortunately, I'm trying to remember what he said. Basically, like, the guy wasn't there for very long and seemed like a nice guy and was a pretty good artist. And for a Warblade pinup fighting whatever monsters, that's pretty cool. I mean, it looks good. I don't mind it at all. And Chuck's inks look great. I mean, it's pretty good. You know, I like it better than that other one by Pop Han. You know, it's cool, you know. But anyway, the end. Sorry again if you love the ever-loving piss out of Warblade Endangered Species miniseries. And, you know, you're getting upset because I am not digging it at all. It's just, it's nothing of it. There's no memory there. There's no fun. It's just not that awesome. It's not that great. But it is what it is, and it's on the channel, and it's something to talk about. So again, if you dig it, if you love it, what do you like, what do you dislike, let me know. Hit me up. That's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.